All right, guys. Tonight I'm here with Locky. Locky, how's it going, bro?
Yeah, good man, good.
Yeah, good to see you again, man. Like I was just commenting before that last time you were in a much different room to the room that you're in right now.
I think it was pretty much my dining room table. So,
So the last time I spoke to you was with the Geeked Out podcast, and it was in I think we just come out of a lockdown. I think so. You've actually managed to move house during lockdown.
yeah, yeah,
That
that
sounds
was
pretty hardcore, man.
yeah. You know what? It kind of forced my hand because I've got three kids,
Yeah.
and they're all under 10. We were in
Yeah.
a two-bedroom house, and you're working from home full time. They're trying to do homeschool and we're all like packed around the dining room table, trying to all work and do school, and like shit was crazy. So
I bet
something had to give.
even well, it still must be crazy, right? So all three of them are homeschooling, and
Well, the youngest one's not school age yet, so
yep.
which is actually a little bit harder because he's kind of just wants to have fun and muck
More
around.
attention, needs
Yeah,
attention.
doesn't
Yeah,
understand why everybody else is trying to get stuff done. So, yeah, look,
just
it's not easy. I have to say my hat off to my wife. She's a superstar. Like seriously, so much patience, is doing an awesome job with the kids because really it's pretty hard with the schooling sort of side of things.
well, it's not
Um,
like you've got choice either. So it's like if you're protesting it, you're gonna have a harder time, aren't you?
yeah, and look, I feel for you know, look, we're lucky. I mean, we made a decision, obviously, a lot, but my wife doesn't work. She's been home with the kids and stuff because the little one's still little and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
But she's there and she can look after them. But I mean, everybody else, if you've got two parents who are both trying to work at the same time, trying to get the homeschool stuff done, like depending on the age of your kids, like
Yeah.
it's pretty demanding. We've got heaps of friends that are like stressed to the max with trying to balance all that stuff.
Yeah, my sister's got two kids, and she's. I've heard through my mum that she's starting to lose it. It's just like
Mm.
homeschooling and everything else. It's just like it must be so hard.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I think it's just people also used to a bit of like personal time. You know what I mean? Whether that's like sitting on the bus, going to or from the office,
Hmm.
or whatever it may well be. And I think just because you're in lockdown at home and all that sort of thing, not that you don't love your family or anything like that, but like everybody needs a little bit of time to themselves sometimes. And it gets
Dude,
pretty
I
stressful
look.
for parents, I think.
Oh, mate, like every Monday podcast or any Monday rant for me, I have so many more emotions and things to say about COVID and lockdown, but I just don't want to go there because
Too many
everyone's
triggered
talking
people.
about it. Well, it's on everyone's.
Yeah.
It's not so much on your mind, but it's just every day you wake up and it's the world just changed so quickly. And
Mm.
like in the beginning, I felt like I was in some kind of Holocaust zombie flick, and I still do. Like every day, I feel like um, I think more and more about other people, and I think
Yeah.
about like how lucky we were to be able to play on the street. I mean, I don't
Mm.
mean to sound old or nothing, but like shit, I am old, but it's like fucking just how much freedom we had
Mm.
that we took for granted because we didn't know this was coming, right? So
No, no.
when you think about like kids that are I don't know 15 years old or whatever, like imagine how much of a social butterfly you would be, and
Sure, yeah.
and and even if you think about like traveling and stuff, like just not being able to go to Japan or oh
It's like it's particularly knowing that you can't, and I think like
it's
that
savage.
burns hard. It's funny. I was just talking. My son was doing an assignment for school. He had to do it on another country, and he's doing it on
Mm.
Japan.
Oh, mad.
So I was showing him like photos from when I went as an exchange student in high school and stuff like that. He's like, "Oh, that's awesome. Can we go?" And I was like, "Oh, man, I'd love to go."
And
I
it's not
really,
it's not like you're rubbing it in either. It's just
no, no, no.
what we did. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I just feel really sorry, especially for the new generation of kids. Like I think I've always felt sorry for them, like for the last 10, 20 years with the internet and everything. But
yeah.
this has just gotten so much worse. It's one thing to be sitting there for many years talking about how the internet's spoiled people, but
Yeah.
Now it's kind of all you got, really. Like if we didn't have the internet, we'd be fucked, you know,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the same time, we've got a pretty good way of life in general in Australia, right? So we've got plenty to be thankful for. So, I always try and keep, a bit of a positive outlook, even
Yeah.
though shit feels tough at times,
Yeah.
I was just talking to my oldest just tonight. He's getting a bit upset, because he's missing his mates
Far
and
out. Yeah.
all this sort of thing. It's pretty tough on them. But, at the same time, he says, well, like, I know it's not ideal, buddy, but, it's probably a bit harsh to be like laying on the mind of like a nearly 11-year-old. But I was like, there's shit going on in Afghanistan right now. And, you think about some of the situations those guys are in, man, we got it pretty sweet over here,
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a harsh dose of reality for an 11-year-old kid, but
Dude, it's funny, right? Like I've never watched the news since I was a teenager, because it was one of those things where in my family, Dad would sit us around a television after dinner, or and just sit there and watch this 1 hour of depressing shit. Like the news was just, I couldn't stand it, because we'd all have to sit in the lounge room on the big TV and watch it, and I'd be like, what are we watching this for again? It was just full of death and stuff, and and the last 5 minutes they'd be like, oh, and there was teddy bears picnic in Rosebery or something, and then all of a sudden they're smiling. I'm like, how can this happen? And and it's funny, like with this stuff that's going on in the Middle East, it's like I purposely don't watch the news, but my whole news feed on YouTube is like gaming stuff and car stuff, and then this video just sneaks its way in there. The Taliban, this Taliban, that, and then I went for a walk to the beach with Viv today, and passed a guy cleaning his car, and his radio was on, and there it was, Taliban blaring out of the radio. I'm like, fuck, you can't escape it.
Now, do you know what? Like, I've actually been pretty much the same way for, I don't know, a bunch of years now too. And all my socials, it's all just car stuff, right?
Right.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And I'm the same. Like, I sort of got something that just kind of snuck in, and I was like, I should really be like, I felt bad, like I'm not paying attention to what's happening, And
so you watch it. So you maybe watch a bit of it, and then you just so that but it didn't make you feel any better. You feel more true. Helpless because you can't do anything about it. Yeah, it's interesting, dude. I can't stop staring at these pictures behind you. They're so distracting. So you've got an R32 GTR there, the Advan. That's awesome. Is that your Sora, your old Sora?
No, you know what? None of these cars are my cars. They're just photos I've taken at different points in time, mostly at World Time Attack, I think. So
I love the Celica. Like, I have always...
I'm desperate for a first-gen Celica, man. That's my dream car.
Dude. Yeah. I think they were sort of made in the year I was born. Like, I'm always looking for a car that was made in 75. And I think maybe they're 74. Or I'm not sure, but I think
you can definitely get a first gen in 75.
75, yeah.
But
dude, I used to live next door to a Greek family, and the dude in there, he must have been like 18 or 19 or something, and he was always working on a car every day. When I came home from school, walk home from school, his garage would be open, and it was a blue TA22.
Nice, yeah.
And man, I don't know. That planted seeds, I suppose.
Yeah, like I'm always look. I'm bad enough with any kind of like. I'm just trolling car sales all the time. Gumtree, Facebook Marketplace. I can't help myself. I'm just like, it's like a drug. Just like gotta look at what cars are for sale. But man, it's hard to spot a deal these days.
Yeah, I mean that's the sign of being a true car guy. I think is haunting car sales. I used to do the same, and it was always one of those things where you're looking at the cars that you can't afford, and they're slowly coming down in price, and then by the time you can't afford it, you don't want it anymore. You want something else. Like an M3. I always kind of wanted an M3, and then I saw them go from 140K down to 100, and then like getting closer and closer, and by the time you can afford it, like looking for something else.
Man, I've always been like a massive tight ass with buying cars as well. So like it's like, I don't think I've ever I don't reckon I've ever bought a car that's newer than 10 years old, ever. except for like family car, you know what I mean? For
I don't think that's necessarily tight ass though.
Yeah.
I think that's like you like the feel and look and smell of an older car, maybe.
Sometimes.
So you bought a cappuccino?
I did, yeah. I was looking
Why?
at I got a thing where I'll kind of want to try every flavor of car there is, right? I'm obsessed with cars, and it's like, I don't know, like, I'm not sort of hung up on like, is it a Nissan or is it JDM or is it US? I just want to try stuff. And I just kind of had a bit of like an itch I wanted to scratch for a K car. And I was looking at a Honda Beat as well.
Yep. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. And I could only find one for sale, and it was in really poor condition. And I just thought, you're going to have to spend double what they want just to get the thing looking kind of half decent. Yeah. But cappuccinos, there's a few of them kicking around. And I think like at the time when the import rules were relaxed, the first time around, when everyone was sort of getting that stuff, quite a few came to Australia. So I found one. There's a guy who'd had it for like 11 years, just babied it, had it in a shed. And
that's amazing.
Wasn't driving it too much. And I just kind of snatched it up. I sort of bought it for my 41st birthday present.
That's mad. That's whatever justification you need.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm a very patient one.
But dude, like it's like that's I've always kind of wanted to own all the cars in Initial D, And there were some really good cappuccino battles in Initial D.
Yeah, heck yeah. It's also like it's kind of that Gran Turismo thing as well.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I bought my GTR was because of the Gran Turismo. But it's such a Japanese car. I mean, even the name cappuccino, and I don't know, the way I look at it. If I see, I think if I look at a cappuccino on the street, it's always a guy driving it, right? It's never going to be a girl driving it. And I always think like, first thing that comes to mind is what other people would think.
Yeah,
and how other people might laugh or whatever. Yeah, but I just think, man, that guy's got a big dick for sure. Like, there's no doubt. It's not a look at me car, but it is. But it isn't. And I don't know. Like, there's something about the whole concept of a K car. You got to be a car guy to appreciate it, because it's not about putting shit in. It's about taking stuff out. And I like that less is more. I just love that concept, and a car that handles well. I don't know. I think for so many years they're running the Jet MST forums, I always made my cars handle better, and it wasn't until one day I did have a K20 Jazz at some point, but I've had a lot of Honda Jazzes, right? And one of them I set up for like cornering, and I had semi slicks for the street, and this Mark V Golf GTI pulled into the left lane, and I knew he was going to try to overtake me at the lights, and I gunned it, and he overtook me like it was nothing. It overtook me like I was standing still. And I don't know. I think for me, at some stage in all of that, buying new cars every year and modifying them every year and blowing every single dollar I had on cars every year, at some stage I realized I do want something fast still. Especially because we were all driving manuals. Like when I had the K20 Jazz, the amount of times I was beaten off the lights with that thing, it's just because they were in an automatic Euro car, and and I had to shift gears, and I was wheel spinning, and just,
you know what, like I think that's kind of part of the fun of the cappuccino, right? Because like it's not a fast car, right? It's I
don't know.
Well, they're limited to 64 horsepower every K car.
Oh, damn! And, right. But they would be light though.
Yeah, no, it's pretty light.
Is it under 1,000?
Yeah.
Of course, right?
I think it's something like 750.
I thought so.
Like that, right? Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh no, it's super chuckable, and it's just so much fun. You can't help but drive it, and the fact that the red line's so high. It's just hilarious to drive. It's like because it's a 3-cylinder as well, right?
It's like a
It's
motorbike.
like driving a motorbike, and it just everywhere you go, everyone's like, "Oh man, this guy must be doing like 1,000 k's an hour." They turn around, you're just like doing 60, but it's like you're hauling, hauling
Wait,
ass.
the engine's in the front though.
Yeah. And that's conventional. It's like a mini MX-5, really. Like,
yeah.
you know, when I was 19, I had a 1971 MG midget,
Okay.
which you might know what that is, but it's like a smaller version of an MGB. It's like if you put it in the dryer and it shrunk down.
No way.
That's what an MG midget is. Also badged as like an Austin Healey Sprite was what they used to be called too.
That rings a bell.
You know, it actually, the Cappuccino feels just like what my midget was, because it's a similar kind of weight. It had 64 horsepower as well. And it's like super nostalgic for me. Like, even though this one's like turbocharged 3-cylinder, it's like the spirit's really similar. You know what I mean? And
that's great. I mean, you know, have you ever tried a rear wheel drive rear engine?
Well, I've got a Volkswagen Type 3 as well. So,
I know you've got that. So that is right. I don't know, but that's still a chunkier, heavier car. Like if you've tried like an MR2 or something like that, like.
No, you know what? I'm actually kind of keen to try an MR2. I was looking at I know they weren't quite so like cool, but like the MRS Spider.
That's what I had.
So I saw there was some guy who was selling one, and he'd done like an engine and gearbox swap, and it's had a conventional gearbox and just like a 2-liter NA, but I don't know, had a decent amount of like, I don't know, it was like 160 kilowatts or something like that.
Oh, it doesn't need power.
I was like, that'd be awesome, you know, like.
Dude, the gearbox on them was rubbish, but there's something about like when you said, because you said chuckable, right, with the Cappuccino. There's something about that MRS that there's no weight at all on the front. So when you turn the wheel, it is so sharp. Like it's so ridiculously sharp and light on the front. I don't think I've ever driven anything like it.
I didn't know you'd had one of those. Interesting. Do you have it for long?
It was my sister's. No, it was my sister's. And then when she wanted to sell it, I thought, hey, give it to me for a while. And first thing I did was take it to Wakefield, and the gearbox it couldn't do it. Like the electronics couldn't. You couldn't take off the traction control completely. So we had to pull the fuse out of it, and it sort of felt a bit better. But ultimately, it was just the gearbox is just rubbish. Yeah. Such a shame.
How many Golfs have you had?
I only had the R32 Golf and the Mark V GTI.
Oh, okay.
And the Mark V was infinitely more fun for the same reasons why Cappuccino is more fun. It's just lighter and felt more responsive. The R32 is just such a heavy car, man. It's like people don't talk about it, but that's because they love the sound of it, or they love the luxury of it. But man, like this, I don't know. There's something about Euro cars in general that you know, people laugh about Japanese cars having thin doors, but I mean, you hop in a brand new 911, you close the door, it's paper thin. It's you know, you don't have that fat Euro luxury, you know. So yeah, I don't know. Like the R32 sounded good, and it was a bit of luxury at the right time for me. I think I was like wanting to have a bit more comfort and yeah.
I kind of did things in reverse. I think like it's like the older I get, the more uncomfortable my cars get.
but it's because you can, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And look, even when I'm working, I catch the bus to work, so I didn't have to worry about dailying really. So
buses have never been, public buses in Sydney have never been comfortable. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know,
I guess like because my daily is it's a bit of an oddball too. So I got a Volvo V50 station wagon.
I remember you mentioning that. I think, yeah. See, So you truly are like in the true sense, you're a car guy in that you don't really have this like Holden Ford mentality where.
Oh hell no.
I've always found that really like such a shame for some people. Like I'm sure it's cool. It's cool if you're into something so much that you hate the other, but I can't say I get it. I don't quite understand it.
No, I mean, like I love nothing better than to meet someone and find out they're a car guy, and I'm going to have a good chat with them no matter what they drive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it
Because
doesn't matter
I'm
what
always
they're
interested.
into either, right? Whether
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
drag or
Yep,
whatever culture and style.
yep.
You have a like-mindedness. I've always thought that, man. I always thought like,
Mm,
so long as people have a like-mindedness, I can get along. You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I work with a guy who he's like a diehard Holden guy, and he's been like restoring a HQ Monaro for like 12 years or something like that. And he just like he's
Awesome.
obsessed and loves it, loves it, loves it. We always have good yaks, and he's always asked me like, "What are you getting?" Because he'd laugh because I was always getting packages sent to the office. And he's like, "What do you got in that, mate?" New steering wheel, new whatever, new whatever.
Yeah.
He's always laughing, like loving the fact that there's somebody else who's into
Into
it. You
it,
know what I mean?
obsessed. That's the thing as well, right? Like I feel like as the cars have gotten more modern, it started with stereos, man. Like we
Mm.
always had that single din unit, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
then they started releasing the double din, and then next
yeah,
thing you know, cars were sculpted to a point where you couldn't put a single din in there anymore, and
yeah,
cars started coming out with body shapes like the Civic, for example, which has like triangular exhaust pipes. You
yeah.
can't just put a Fujitsubo or HKS or nothing would fit. And I don't know, they've just gotten to a point now where you pop an engine bay and it's this sea of plastic,
For sure.
and it's just man, like I suppose they've become like more like appliances than ever.
That's true, but like at the same time, you've got I don't know, like all this off the shelf stage kits and stuff like that for stuff as
Yeah.
well.
They'll
Like
still
look,
make stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be different, I guess, as like we sort of get into all this electric stuff that's coming. But you know, for the moment, I think like the BMW guys and the Mercedes guys, I mean, they're all going crazy for all these turbo kits, and it's like the sort of JDM era all over again, but with the Euros now.
It so
Um,
is. Like they really took over, man. Like that's. I
mm,
mean, even I got suckered in and bought the Golfs, right? Like,
yeah,
everything was JDM before that. So, I get it. Like they're just so easy to drive fast.
yeah.
You
Look,
know.
I went in someone's Mercedes A45
Mm,
AMG,
mm,
and
mm.
that thing just blew my mind. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it just been tooling around with it. Like, it wasn't even like it had like a big build or whatever it was. And I was like, I
Yeah.
can't believe how fast this thing is.
Yeah. I think I realized that when I bought the Mark V GTI, I realized why every single family in Sydney had one. Like
Yeah, yeah,
everyone bought it for their second or third car
mm,
to do the groceries with, because man, it makes doing the groceries fun. Like
sure, yeah,
it's
yeah,
just spinning the wheels in a car that you're not meant to, but it's just like I don't know. It's just it's turbo, man, and
yeah,
it gives you that like we had the WRX and Evos and stuff, but they had lag, and these little
yeah.
things, they're little pocket rockets, and I think people have been so spoiled, like for us to think like a DC2 was the most desired car at one point,
Yeah, yeah.
and man, they're slow. They're really slow.
And that's that thing. I've been thinking about like the guys who are buying them now, and they're like going for like
Hmm.
50 grand or something.
That's nuts, hey?
Yeah, which is crazy. And you
Yeah,
think about it when you drive it now after you've been driving modern stuff,
yeah,
and you go to that, and you go, man, it just must feel so like I don't know about disappointing. Like there's still something super cool about the car. Don't get me wrong,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it must be hard to sort of go back to it. I mean, I've always kind of driven shit boxes, so
Well, that's the thing. Like your Volkswagen wouldn't be easy to drive, and I bought a Mini for a while when I ran Zen Garage. We bought a Mini, and my God, I was crunching gears, misshifting, and man, it was hard to drive. Like
yeah,
there's character. There's so much character to older cars, and even the MX-5, like the NA, is so raw. It's so
mm,
It's so mechanical, man, in comparison to a Golf.
yeah, for sure.
Like it's light and day, and I don't know. Like I really do miss if you drive a manual to work and you, especially if you're driving to work or driving home from work with mates, you're heel to toeing and shit. And
Yeah.
oh man, it's just like there's a real, it's almost like dancing. Like it's almost like going to a club and like some people know how to dance and some people don't. Heaps of guys are sitting there just like sort of like doing these ones, and then there are guys that are actually dancing, and it's like I think I've always realized that with watching V8 supercars on TV as a kid. Like it always looked like they were dancing with their feet, you know?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
And I think I miss that because like I don't know, everyone gets lazy, everyone gets comfortable, but I think you can get a DSG car that still is angry. Like I drove a GTR, like a 35 GTR, and I thought I was gonna hate it, but yeah, it was a monster. Like it's it was a real monster. And I remember I have two mechanics, right? Deddy does all my other cars, and Indy from IS Motor Racing just touches the GTR, right? Like that's his car. But every other car I take to Deddy at Top One, and he had a few customers which had R35s when they first came out. And I asked him, he's a really honest guy, and I asked him like, so Deddy, what do you think of the new GTR? And he just looked at me and just goes, very, very fast, Justin, very fast. And like, it took me ages to drive one, but far out, what a monster.
Yeah.
So I think like, you don't get to heel to toe, but I don't know. It can still be good. It can still be good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like there's something to be said, I think, for the lower powered stuff, like particularly if you're on the streets, you know what I mean? Because there's so few places you're going to be able to like really just open up a beast like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. You'd be in trouble all the time.
Yeah. And look, it's fine if you're going to be able to like take it out to track days, but that's a different thing. You're just like, ooh, do I really want to do that to that car? Put it on the track or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's different driving on the track than it is on the street, I think. I mean, I'm no track day warrior, but I loved, going down, the old Pacific Highway and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, it's all twisty, fun mountain stuff. You don't have to be doing like 200k an hour to enjoy it. You know what I mean? And it's just about, shift those gears yourself, feel the weight, transition as you're sort of, stepping on it a bit harder around the corner. And
the Cappuccino would be different. The turbos are actually pretty hairy. They could potentially be pretty hairy, like that. Like boost kicking in mid corners depends how your boost kicks in, I suppose. But the Cap's
got really tiny wheels too, right? So because it's light, it's a bit like a roller skate, and it just kind of like skips a bit as it sort of hits things. So I got a ton of parts waiting to go onto it actually. And
you would have
because I'm in lockdown.
Oh man, have you got the Hyper Rev?
Yeah, I got the Hyper Rev over there, and a stack of others. You've got to sit there, you're scouring, Yahoo Japan for bits and pieces.
Yahoo Japan, Yahoo auctions. Oh my God.
Yeah. Now my wife's just been going like, what's this package? I got like a carbon fiber roof section sent over from Japan and from Toyoshima, and had like coilovers coming the other week, some Workmeisters, and I'm just itching to get this thing.
It's such an addiction. It's such a good addiction, man. Like I remember at some point in all my modding sort of journey, I needed to put a stop to it. Hey, like every dollar that I earned, I spent on cars. And one year I thought I just wanted to stop spending money on cars. And I thought I went to a dealership on Parramatta Road, and it was a Kia dealership, and I bought a Kia Sentry.
Low times, Justin. Low times.
the car salesman took me around the block in it, and I'm like, he was trying to sell it to me. I'm like, dude, you don't get it. I'm buying this car so that I can stop modifying high performance cars and all this shit. And he's like, oh yeah, I've got a Supra, bro. And I'm like, oh, shut up, man.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get it. You don't get it. Like, just let me buy this. And I haggled on price so hard because I'm like, I don't even want it, bro. I don't want this car. Just give it to me as cheap as you can. And you saved my life, And I bought it, and the car was designed so badly. Like, it had this little wedge shape, and the boot was higher than the front because of the wedge shape. And you look out the rearview mirror and you couldn't see because the boot was in the way. It was just
Yeah.
weird, just so bad. And it drove so bad because I mistreated the thing. I drove it, I flogged it, right? Like every day I would automatic, turn it on, I wouldn't warm it up, nothing. I just flogged the thing. And as soon as you get out, you could smell it, and it was ticking. And you could hear this tick, 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 tick. Like everything's just, it was dying. It was dying. Within a week, it was dying, man. And being an obsessed car guy that I was, I stupidly joined the Kia forum. And people were like modifying their cars. Someone had changed their side mirrors and stuff. And I started looking at that shit. I'm going, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like,
man.
It's savage. And I sold it straight away. Like I sold it maybe 14 days into ownership. I just,
wow.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I did something, I wouldn't say it's sort of similar, but it's like an embarrassing like spot on my car history. Where
we probably all have one, right?
Yeah. For a window of time, I owned a Toyota Camry, and
that's savage. Oh, it depends which one these days, because they're pretty good now, right? But you're talking about,
I guess. This is back a few years, but it was just kind of like one of those things. It was actually like my granddad's car,
right?
And he was too old to drive and all this sort of thing, and they're getting rid of the car, and they just went in to get it like a trade-in for it, and the trade-in was like $6,500 or something.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, do you want it? You got the kids and all that sort of thing. I was like, I really don't want a Camry. Like at the time,
you didn't want it on your resume.
No, man. I had my EK Honda Civic, and it was, and I had like kids in the booster seats in the 2-door. And I was like breaking my back every time I'm getting the kids in and out and all that sort of thing. And my dad was like, "You're like a grown man now, like with kids and shit. Like
you need a
get the Camry."
Yeah.
And I did it, and then like instantly hated myself afterwards, right? I drove it for about a year, and then I was like, no, I gotta get out.
It's not even a thing anymore now. But like I think when I was growing up, every Asian family had a Camry. Yeah. And now every Asian family has a 318 BMW. It's just times have changed, man. The Camry is no longer a thing. Like I think maybe people buy Hyundai i30s instead or something. I don't know, but it's not a Camry anymore.
Do you know what? Like our society is so affluent. Like there's no real heaps of shit that are being sold really now.
Dude, and there's no old cars on the street either. Have you noticed?
Yeah. I mean, people are changing them over more often. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you see stuff like Hyundai, and I remember like my wife when we were dating and stuff, she had a Hyundai Excel. It's like
everyone had one of those.
Yeah, man, it was absolutely horrible. Like metallic purple, automatic, heap of shit.
See, they've all gone, hey.
Hated driving. You never see that sort of thing anymore.
But they're all dead. They're all dead. Like that's the thing. Like I think a lot of cars, like the Mitsubishi Magna, every single family bought one.
Yep.
And I never see one. I get so excited when I see like an old Ford Laser or a Sigma or something. Yep. I jump up and down when I see one of those on the street because like they used to be everywhere, and then all of a sudden
I remember frothing so hard over a TX3 like when I was a kid.
I know, right?
So cool. The bubble one with all the round headlights at the front.
I remember watching like Sale of the Century, and they'd be giving away like a Ford Capri or something at the end. I kind of wanted that. I'm like, oh my god. Or like the Holden Piazza or something.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah,
with the waffle wheels. Oh man, like, but that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. Like, I think just finding those pockets of car culture where people go crazy about something, and maybe I was more of a car snob when I was younger. I'd be like, I don't get why you young people in your early 20s are putting up posters on your wall of a hatchback. Yeah, like you're dreaming of a hatchback. Because when I was a kid, I had Lamborghini Countachs on my wall, you know?
Yeah, man.
So it's just like, I didn't get it, but now I completely get it. It's like that whole each to your own, your own thing. And yeah, you can't explain why you're into something sometimes. You're just into it, you know, for whatever reasons.
No, and I think like that's why, sometimes you look at places like Japan and you sort of go, that's like the Mecca, because everyone just has their niche and like
So
go
well
hard
said.
at it, whatever it is, like just commit to that, like the best, that whatever weird thing is that you want to get into. And I love it, and
Yeah.
people don't seem to hang shit on it over there either. It's
Oh,
kind of
dude.
like, good on you, man, get into it.
Dude, it's so good. Like the last time I was there with the Acquired Taste guys and the Daikoku meet, just meeting people who were trying so hard to speak English
Yeah.
to us, to show us their cars, and they were so happy that we wanted to look underneath the cars and pop bonnets
Yeah.
and stuff. And man, just the vibe is like, I can't say the vibe's the same here. Like, I don't mean to sound like a downer or nothing, but
No, no, no.
I feel like the car shows here, like the auto salons, and back in the auto salon days, you'd have like a dude sitting next to his car, and you'd be looking at the car, and he'd be looking at you, giving
Yeah.
you filthies. And, what are you looking at? I'm like, I'm looking at your car, man. Like,
Yeah.
like it's just the vibe. The vibe's never been quite the same as, but we're not as humble as the Japanese, and it's a
Yeah,
different culture for sure.
for sure. But then, I mean, look, it's the same in any country. And I suppose, like, if you went to the US or something, you probably have the guy standing by the car and he'd be like, come check it out, man. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
this whip's sick, and, a different kind of vibe again. But
So what cars haven't you like? You haven't had a rotary, right? You haven't. Oh, you have?
no,
You haven't?
no, I haven't. I'd be keen to have a rotary.
Yeah.
I love
An FD?
love an FD, love an FC.
Yeah, I would love an FC, man. Oh my god.
Yeah, but because I'm the same, like all the initial D cars, right?
That RE like just the FC, which has the bonnet vents that look like they came from Bunnings.
Yeah,
Like the
that's
sort
it.
of- oh man, that just.
I've got a neighbor with one, and it's in white. And like every time I walk
It's in
past,
white.
every time I walk past, I just go, "Oh man, killing me."
That offset scoop as well. Like they did like the Tommy Mackinnon and that FC. Like
Yeah,
nothing. It didn't have to be symmetrical. It was function over form, man.
yeah.
And they don't do that. They don't do that now. They put scoops on cars, and they're fake scoops.
Yeah, well, anytime, it's so rare to see anything that's asymmetrical on anything, really.
Right.
That's just a human thing, right? You got to have two eyes, and
Right.
that's just how it works. It's like not that long ago. What was it? It's like a Land Rover or something, and they did some funny thing for that asymmetrical sort of shape on the back of it for where the license plate went.
Oh,
People gone
okay.
bananas about it. They're like,
They couldn't stand it.
why the hell isn't it in the middle? Like, why is it off to this? Losing their shit. It's just so funny.
Yeah.
But no, I love that era car design. I would really, really love to get a Z20 Toyota Sora.
Okay.
Like the boxy old 80s ones.
Yeah.
I just remember driving down Silverwater Road one day, and I think one of the guys from High Performance Imports magazine, they had that as their magazine car, and I was following it down Silverwater Road, and I was just like, fuck, man, that thing is so cool. I've
It's
never
just got
seen
so
one.
much presence, hey.
Yeah. And like anytime you see that, those in-style guys in Japan, and like they had this beautiful one, it was like metallic beige,
Yeah.
and just decked, and it's
Perfect
just
paint.
magic.
Like
Yeah.
perfect paint and
So good.
like dishy kind of
For sure.
polished rims. And I mean that's the thing. Like I remember when I first met Garth Ivers with he had the AE86, the probably like the first dude really that was loud on the internet and that actually had like the Trueno front. It wasn't like the boxy front, it was the flip lights, and he had the carbon bonnet and full panned it out. And just I remember he came out my way and we went for a drive one night, ended up in like Bondi Junction, and this cyclist rocks up next to us at the lights, and he just couldn't get over the car, and I'm like, that's it. it's just something so different, you know, like,
Yeah.
and certain people will appreciate it. And, you know, it's just, the car's just so alive. It's so
Yeah.
revvy, the
Yeah.
4AGE, and like, oh man, I can so understand why people don't get it. Especially if the first car you've ever gotten was a Golf. You know, like,
Totally.
oh
Yeah.
man, where do you go from there? I always say it to when I was running the Golf forums. You have like 20-year-olds that have an R32 or, you know, I'm like, you've screwed yourself so hard.
Set the bar so high already.
Yeah, like, where do you go from there? Like, you're not
Yeah.
even going to drive a manual ever.
Yeah.
And no, and I don't know, even the manuals in the Golfs are shocking, man. Like,
Yeah.
when you go to grab third, your knuckle hits the stereo. It's just like, what's going on here? You know?
Yeah, it's funny, you know, my kid, you know, always like only turning 11. He's always talking to me about like what his first car's going to be.
Nice.
And
what is it? What is he like?
well, Lexus IS 200 is kind of, you know, because he's like, oh, you know, got to have FR, Dad, you know, and manual gearbox, and
you know what? I've never owned one, but I really like how they look.
Same here. Yeah.
It's got a real sporty look. It's got that rake look, you know. It's like, it's boxy, but it's still got that lower front.
It's like it's kind of like chunky, but looks tough, if you know what I mean. And
yeah,
I think,
it's got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if you get some wheels on there and you've got like a bit of like sort of fat rubber in it, you know what I mean? It's just got like that sort of time attack presence to it, you know what I mean?
I really like those cars, man. I think if it had more power, it actually would have been a legendary car. Like,
yeah,
I know they made in Japan. They probably had.
They had the 3S GTE in it, I think.
But that really had a chance at being like a WRX or like a car that's never going to be forgotten. But as it is now, I think that they sold so many of them for the wrong reasons, you know?
Yeah, look, I guess like the only good thing is that there's still plenty of manuals, but like they've all got like a ton of Ks on them, and it's just like BMWs of that era, like the P platers have had them, not serviced them. They've been getting smashed around in you know, supermarket car parks and stuff. So I think it's probably at that point now. It's like S15s kind of went through that phase as well, right?
I was gonna say S15s, man. Like, I was so glad with the Need for Speed thing with Zen Garage that I actually finally got to own one, and I can see what everyone's talking about with like they're all crashed cars and stuff. Like, that thing was hairy, man. Like, really hairy. Like, in the wet, just driving home from work, it could catch you out if you weren't ready. And I had the rear come out more times than I expected in that thing without not on purpose. And I can understand why most of them have been wrapped around poles or gutters or whatever. Like, I totally get it.
But that's the thing though too, like when a lot of guys, you know, everyone goes, oh, I want FR, right? Because that's it's kind of the sports thing, right? But if you're a P player and you don't have experience, man, it can catch you pretty quick. Because like, that was the thing when I got my MG, and like I said, it's no powerhouse. It's like 64 horsepower, right?
Yeah.
But I think the second day I owned it, and it had been raining the night before, and the road was all greasy, and I just left home, and I saw a couple of guys I knew like up at the bus stop, and I was like, in my new car, you know, I'm just going to gas it around this corner, and it stepped out on me. And I like fishtailed the whole way up the street. The first, you know, rear-wheel drive car I'd ever owned. And I remember just being like white knuckled at the end, just go, shit, I nearly wrecked that day one, you know, like.
you know what's funny about that is so 99.999% of the reason why so many people crash their cars is because they were showing off, right?
Yeah.
And I just, where does that come from? Hey, like I talked about this with the All Talk car guys on their podcast about how, you know, you have those videos on YouTube of those Americans in Mustangs and Corvettes leaving car meets, and it's like the crowd's going, do a burnout. And so they it's like they're trying one for the first time in their lives.
Yeah.
And like, is that just like I don't know, is that a fucking guy thing or what? Is that like, what is that? Like, who does that? Like, where does it come from?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it
You
just,
just gotta. I think like
what is
it's
that?
definitely a maturity thing though, right? Because you'd have to say it's kind of like forgivable as a kid. I have a feeling like a lot of these
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
leaving
yeah.
car shows though, they're like, you know, 40 or 50 or something, they're still
Oh,
doing it.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. If you're saying with your experience, yeah, you were young and you learn
Yeah.
from your mistakes, right? Because when you're young,
Yeah.
that's when you want to make your mistakes. But
Sure.
like, what is it about like maybe people with money, people with nice things, and then maybe they're still really young at heart. I don't know. Maybe it's like
Mm.
it's just the same thing. It's the exact same thing that you felt when you were young and you did it. Like it could be the
Yeah.
exact same thing.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's just maybe some like animal part of your brain just imprinted there that you got to do it.
Well, the good thing is though, like in sort of like the sort of early 2000s or whatever, all of our cars, they didn't have airbags and stuff, and it was fun, isn't it? Like when you go to Yahoo Japan and you're like,
Hmm.
the hardest part was just try to figure out what boss kit to get for the steering wheel. But I mean,
Yeah.
man, with airbags and everything now, it's like just the scope of modification is so much smaller.
Yeah. Because, like and you can laugh, but like I changed the wheel on the Volvo, right?
Mm.
And but the only thing you can change it to is another Volvo wheel.
A smaller wheel? Did you get a smaller wheel or?
No, it's just more sporty, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
what do they call the R design trim or whatever it was.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, it's just funny because like that's all you can do. You can't swap anything else out because you've still got to have the airbag, and it's like, oh, that's compatible. So that's like the only other choice you got.
It's
And
freaky, man.
yeah,
It's sad. It's sad in a way because, like
what is this?
those hyper revs are.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff, and
Mm.
the hyper rev is so. For anyone that doesn't know, hyper rev is like a bible for your car, right? And it not only has a parts listing of everybody making parts for your car broken up into sections.
Mm.
It has a whole lot of owners of the car that have modified the car, and you get to see how varied the modifications can be for your car.
Yeah.
And like there's such small low res pictures and stuff, but
Yeah.
you can't read. I can't read Japanese, but you can read this book like
Mm.
every night. I don't know. It can be a bedside table book, and it's almost like every time you open it, you find something different.
For sure. And like I've got hyper magazines over there for cars like I've never owned, but I was
Yeah,
like,
me too, man.
I'd like to
Yeah.
own that car one day. It's like I'm going to get
Yes.
the hyper and I just kind of like go through the catalog. You're sort of like mentally sort of like going, I'm just going to make a note. That's what I want to do. I I
It's
swear
so
like I've got
amazing.
like I call it like Gran Turismo syndrome because I
Yeah.
have that thing where it's kind of like I want to have the garage that's in Gran Turismo where you can just like collect the cars and then like put it in the color and the modifications that you want and just be able to sort of like check out the showroom. Take that one out today.
That's that. I think the showroom in Toyota in Japan does that, right? Where you have a screen, you select the car, and actually the car actually comes down, and
Oh, sweet.
yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you go to like a Kinokuniya bookshop or something like that, and you go to the car section, and it's like, it's not just hyper rev and Japanese cars. The Japanese are into every car. And
For
they
sure.
have like magazines for MGs, and they have magazines for Land Rovers, and they have like, they go bonkers, and
Vans.
yeah, and they make everything for each car too. It's like,
Yeah.
if you hop on Yahoo auctions, you can find really shitty eBay style crappy modifications for your car if you've only got $50, or it goes all the way up to $5,000 for the same thing. But it's
Yeah.
like there's some nasty shit and bad taste stuff as well. But
Oh, for sure. But I mean, that's the whole thing there, right? It's just you got the rainbow. You can go from one end of the scale to the other, and
it really is, man. Like,
yeah.
they're super auto bucks. Like, I always dreamed of going to super auto bucks and checking it out. But the first
Mm.
time I checked it out, like when it went to a few of them, and they're really a lot like super cheap autos. They're full of
Right.
shit. Like, there's
Yeah.
so much rubbish in there. Like, you'll have a whole aisle of like air purifiers, and
Yeah.
it's these scents for your car and stuff. And um, yeah, it's only the ones where you go maybe really far out that they have some really cool secondhand wheels and stuff like that.
I
But
reckon that stuff's got to be starting to get harder to find because there's so many people scouring the internet collecting that stuff now.
yeah, it's
And
over.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, just since I got the cappuccino, right, and people like looking for parts and stuff like that, and there's all this like old like Garage John was like this Japanese brand of like cappuccino parts, and they're like super rare,
Yeah,
sort of sets of fog lights and
yeah,
like speaker sort of kits that would fit just into the nook behind the seats and stuff.
yeah,
And man, that stuff goes for huge dollars now because everyone's just like scouring the web trying to find all these old bits and pieces.
yeah.
So I don't know how much you find it sort of super autobacks now. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's the same with any of the legendary classic JDM cars, right? There was a few really weird companies that aren't around anymore, and they made some weird fiberglass stuff, like weird front bars, conversions, weird headlights, weird taillights. And that's what's so nasty about Hyperrev, man, because you see these taillights you've never seen before.
Yeah.
You've never seen them on a local car, and you want them so bad.
Heck
Or
yeah.
some side mirrors that you've never seen before, and you're like, I want those side mirrors. And you can't find out any more info about it sometimes. Like, it's savage. Like, so it's so interesting. Like, I spent like, I really don't remember exactly how much, but I spent ridiculous money on a really rare wooden cigarette lighter for my NA MX-5. It was like hundreds, but I had to have it, man. It's like I finally found one. I'm like, oh, I've seen that in Hyperrev. I'm paying up. I'm paying up for that.
For sure. Yeah.
But people will never get it. Like a lot of people will never get that. But it's like sometimes the smallest mods are the ones that make you the happiest.
No, for sure. For sure.
Like a rare strut brace or like it's not about the function anymore. It gets to a point where you've seen it in a Hyperrev, you've seen it on a few cars in Hyperrev and Option Magazine and stuff, and it's so good. I love that shit, man.
Yeah, it's like I think that's that whole thing about that personalization. And if you're building the car for yourself, well, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
It's different now, I suppose. Like there's so many people out there for the Insta fame or whatever, but when you build a car for yourself and you can find those bits you've been hunting for, there's no.
I think it'll get really interesting, man. Like with the 3D printing and all of these new technologies, like it hasn't really hit us yet. Like we've heard of 3D printing for many years now, but I wouldn't say it's truly accessible yet. Like you've got these home style 3D printers that you can buy, but I wouldn't say they're ready to make a center console for your cappuccino or
I know there's like loads of people who are using them to get like rare out of stock, just like little trim pieces, right?
And cool. That's what I was hoping for.
Like I've seen that with like some of the first gen Celica guys are starting to do some of that stuff, and I've seen it with some of the cappuccino groups as well. Because I mean, it's interesting.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I've gone hunting like all these old stock parts for the cappuccino because I want to kind of restore it and like get it back to its former glory and everything. Not that it's in bad nick, but you just want to have it nice, right? So you go sort of hunting down all these things that's like, oh, no longer available.
No way.
Damn, man, like this is going to get really hard in another 5-10 years time.
Oh yeah.
But 3D printers might save us a bit, hey? I saw something, it's like Leno had some like something was doing like metal 3D printing, and they printed like some like super complex like petrol pump for like a 1912 whatever it is.
That's what I'm hoping for. Like because I know that the biggest companies in the world are making structural things for transport and buses and trains and stuff like that. So I know the technology is not fragile. I know it's like legitimately there. But to be able to find someone that can 3D model an old set of mirrors from a Hyperrev and then, one can dream, but it's like, I like the idea of paying that extra cost to get a one-off and not needing someone to go into manufacturing, because you don't want that. You don't want that. You still want it to be
rare, right?
Right.
like you want to be able to get it. You don't want anyone else to get it. Right?
Well, kind of, right? It's like, like with the Zoomer, like there's this company that's selling modified looking Honda Ruckus Zoomer, and it's all stretched and stuff, and like but it's not a Honda.
It's
cheating. Yeah, and it's like it doesn't. You can do it, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel good. It's like I was at the skate park. I went past the skate park earlier today, and there wasn't one single skateboarder there. It was all kids on scooters. I'm like, you don't want that. You don't want it. I want a skateboard. I don't want a scooter. I don't want to be like everybody else. So I think that whole concept of with JDMST and stuff, especially the early days, you get a lot of blow-ins. You got a lot of people that are like, WRX or whatever. But then what was exciting was seeing some people starting to recognize the names and, Kakimoto or Fujitsubo, and pronouncing them and saying them. And then people starting to, steer away from the sort of mag wheels that you see in the first few pages of Auto Salon. I won't name any companies, but you steer away from those mag wheels with the free tires from the Ling Long tires or something. And, we started to see people investing in, Mugen air intakes cost $1,000 for this thing that gives you 0 extra power, and strut braces, and I don't know, Watanabes, and just it was so exciting to see this stuff actually take off with people. It was a really good time. Whereas I don't know what's going on now. I suppose now it's like you buy the thing that gives you the most power, or it's probably a little bit different now. Like I think back then it didn't matter whether the strut base felt different or not. You just had to have it, or there was no such thing as cheap coilovers. You had to get HKS, or it's like, oh no, don't get the springs, man, save up, get the coilovers, and it wasn't like all of a sudden the market's flooded with cheap coilovers, and I don't know, even rolling guards, man. Like we never rolled guards to fit 0 offset wheels. We looked at the Hyper Rev. It would say, oh, you need plus 35, and then we'd go, ooh, maybe we can go like plus 25. Not like now it's like, oh, plus 0. Yeah, I'll shove that under my EG Civic. And it just ruined all the EGs, man. They're all the rear guards are mangled, and I don't know. It's just different. It's just different. I that time of discovery was a sweet spot. I find in modifications and culture.
I'm really curious to sort of see what sort of happens, and I think with the electric stuff coming through, you might actually find that, because to be honest, I look at a lot of the electric stuff and I think it's just boring as batshit, right? But I wonder, because they're still fast, right?
Oh, it's got speed, just no sound.
Yeah. But I wonder if people are going to just start sort of doing some, I don't know, just go back to crazy body kits and stuff, because that's all you can kind of do. You can't really screw around with them mechanically. So maybe they'll just go a bit more sort of wild with their aesthetics again at some point. Everything's old's new again. So
look, I'm still so surprised that governments don't release 3 different engine types. You got I don't know, passenger, sports, and then you've got industrial. And so every car manufacturer gets together, puts their heads together. We design 3 engines, and then each manufacturer can just put whatever looking shell they want on it. Just go crazy with the body and the interior and stuff, but the engines are the same. And it just blows my mind that we're still living in a world which has that variety. So that's why I don't complain about what car, because it's almost like the motor show. You go to the motor show now and Porsche doesn't even turn up, and Ferrari doesn't turn up, and I'm like, wow, that was the beginning of the end for me. It was you know, hearing kids on the forum say, fuck the motor show. I'm not going to pay $30 to see cars that I can see for free in a car dealership. I'm like, no, but you don't get it. My dad took me to the motor show every year as a kid. It's a ritual.
For sure.
As a car guy, you got to support the scene. You got to, you know, and you get to sit in the Porsche. You get to look at, it's just times have changed. But at the same time, you know, I see some cars on the street. I'm like some Citroens and stuff. And I see them like, why the hell did you buy that? Like,
that'll be me though, man. Because like I love all the weird shit. So
the Renaults, like some of the Renaults and Citroens I see on the street, I'm like, if you had an accident in that, they're gonna sting you so hard for spare parts because there are none in the country.
Yeah, it's so true. But I don't know. Look, we're blessed with like the variety we've got here, no question, right? We've got crazy variety for like a country with not that big a population,
right?
The amount of different manufacturers and variety we got here is just insane. So
I still don't get it. I just don't get it. Like there are so like, how can you sell 5 or 6 or 7 different models of Golfs? I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
Like it's just so confusing for people, you know?
And look, most people aren't car people either.
Yeah.
And so like, you're right. Like navigating that for the non-car person, this what the hell is all of this? But I suppose like in some senses, like it's probably no different, you know, if you were getting a Commodore in the 80s or something like that, there's probably like 7 different trim levels you could get. And
true.
You know, but I don't know. I love all the oddball stuff though. So like,
I get you though, man. I get you. Like I think only a true car guy would be like that. Like that's the thing. Like you seem to love the stuff, the weirder the better, and you know it's a culture that you've tapped into that I think, like you said, it's like a Japanese. It's almost like a Japanese culture. It's like really accepting and really curious, and you don't really know until you give it a go. That's the bit that I love the most. It's like that whole Japanese Pokemon sort of got to catch them all concept. Like I got to own them all, man, and I can't just own them. I have to modify them all too. You know, it's like there's something about it. It's a real Japanesey kind of, you know, you can't just take someone's word for it that this car is crap. I got to give it a go myself, kind of thing.
Man, I got a list so long of cars I need to try before I die. Right?
And it's savage.
And I don't know. I keep thinking about it too because it's like I can't really, like you can't keep them, right? And,
no,
and that's the thing that's really hard.
Well, you're not Jay Leno, yeah.
No, that's it. And I'm really kind of like pushing the friendship with what I got in the garage at the moment. So
how many do you have now? How many cars? 3 cars.
I've got 3, and then we've got my wife's car as well. So
that's a lot. Hey.
Yeah, and just like with Rego and shit like that, I think I have to put something back down to like historic Rego so you can kind of keep the costs down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Historic's not bad these days though. You can still drive them a fair bit. And like realistically, like how much do you drive all of them when you're not
that's right
driving to the office, you know? So
that's right. So out of all the cars that you've owned, then which one would you say well, I wouldn't say regret selling, but I mean, you know, you're like you can't keep them all, so you got to sell to buy.
Yeah, so like the keeper is my Volkswagen.
I thought so.
So like I bought that one. It's like my mum passed away from cancer a couple of years ago.
Damn, sorry, dude.
That's okay.
That's fresh, man. Like my dad passed away from cancer when I was 18, but I've had a long time to process that. But a couple of years ago, it's pretty fresh.
Yeah. And look, I guess like I sort of bought myself that car after she passed away, and it was kind of like that's like the gift from my mum to me, like the last gift, if you know what I mean. So that car's going to be with me forever. So
I love that, man. Like when you have a story like that, it's so substantial, you know. It's like it justifies anyone who doesn't understands.
Yeah.
Once you say that, because like a lot of people don't get why car guys are so into cars, and sometimes they label us. I mean, they always have, right? Like if you're, especially a Volkswagen, even like it's so mechanical. It's actually loud without trying to be loud.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and someone could judge really quickly. But yeah, if anyone heard the story behind it, then it's great. So
yeah. So that one will always stay.
That's fantastic, man. I mean, congratulations too on having gotten to that point where you found a keeper car, because it's really hard for car guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a car, like I literally saw one of these when I was like, I don't know, 11 years old or something like that, 12 years old.
They're very rare, by the way. I've never seen one.
Yeah, you don't see a heap of them around.
Not on the street.
Not like I got a notchback one, which is like a 2-door sedan. Really pretty uncommon.
I was gonna ask you actually, what is, like, there's hatchback, and that's understandable, but what's a notchback?
Yeah, it's literally like 2-door sedan. I mean, they call like some of those Fox body Mustangs and notchback as well, I think.
Notchbacks.
Like, so it just means it's got a boot, right? Instead of a because the other one, they got a fastback, which is like the hatch.
Slanted. Yep.
And then they got the little sort of sedan shape. It's like
that's the notch. Yeah.
It's the notch. And then they got a wagon, station wagon as well.
Yeah, I've seen the wagons, yeah.
There's plenty of wagons around. Seems to be a heap of them.
I haven't seen a notchback. I've seen the wagons at VW Nationals when I used to go every year. I've seen a few of them there, but I haven't seen a notchback before, apart from your photos.
Yeah, I was at the VW Nationals this year. Luckily, we weren't in lockdown at the time.
Yeah, right.
And there wasn't any notchbacks in the show at all, but I did see one in the car park.
I always love the car parks at car meets. Yeah, like at like the Tokyo Auto Salon. I spent so much time in the car park, man. But did they at the Nationals? Did they blow up an engine like they always do?
I didn't see that actually. I don't know.
Did they have a band? Did they have a live band?
Yeah, they had some Papa going, of course. You know, get the German Autofest sort of stuff going.
Did they still have a bit of a swap sale kind of thing as well, like the boot?
Yeah, all the rusty old parts and stuff to go check out, and stroll through. So that's fun, that stuff, you know.
So good, man. And the guy that sells like cool stickers and stuff, and all that gear. Man, I love that community. Like, they accepted us in all our modern Golfs and stuff. They let us display and stuff. Like, it was just really cool.
There's I mean, they've still got a reasonable sized section of like water cooled, because obviously, like, you know, the air cooled stuff's getting pretty old now too. So
yeah,
you know, if they want to keep that club and that thing of like Volkswagens coming together, you know, they had to embrace water cooled stuff to kind of keep it going.
Keep a new crowd. You know, it's so rare. Like, I remember when I was younger, I definitely could see oval windows every now and then on the street. But I don't remember the last time I saw a bug with an oval window on the streets, man. Like, it's just, man, they're just like so rare now.
Yeah, I can't think of many I've seen around either. But yeah, it's funny, like, as a kid, there were still quite a few about, and like a lot of like older cousins or, you know, brothers of mates and stuff would still have them.
someone you knew would have a Beetle.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But they're getting to be a rarer thing, that's for sure.
Dude, I still even every now and then hunt down one of the new Beetles, but the turbo one. Do you remember that?
Sure, yeah.
It came in silver, and it had like it was pretty fat.
Yeah.
I still look for those. You know, I still look for the Bug-Eye Celica GT4 as well, with the huge wing and the tri-spoke wheels. Still sort of have an itch there.
I nearly bought the one before. That was a ST162 or something like that.
Yeah,
that was the one that still had the pop-up headlights.
Yep.
But it's where they had the first GT4, you know, the first four-wheel drive sort of set and that sort of thing.
My first car was that Celica. It wasn't a GT4.
Oh, really? Yeah.
My very first car was one. It was automatic because I I was into motorbikes, and my parents were they were just so scared of me riding bikes. So
Sure. Yeah.
maybe second or third year of riding bikes, they said, "Oh, we want to buy you a car." And I'm like, "But I love bikes." They were like, "We'll give you 20,000. We'll give you 20,000 so long as you sell your bike. Just get rid
Yeah.
of it. We'll give you 20 grand." And I'm like, "But I can't drive a car. We'll buy you lessons. We'll get you lessons and stuff." And I learned how to drive in an automatic, so I bought that Celica. And man, it's funny because I started to get into cars, and then because I was into cars as a kid, but then when I started to get into cars, and it's like I really wanted to have that GT4's bonnet on my car.
Yeah.
I wanted the vent, so
Yeah.
that's kind of where it all started for me, I think.
Well, that was
But
like all
yeah,
the guys with the N14 Pulsars getting their GTIR bonnets and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
dude, yeah, triple S's were
Yeah.
they used to cane me on the way because man, my car was crap. I went to Midas mufflers, and
Sure.
I
Yeah.
went there, and they chopped up my cats and stuff, and they put on a straight pipe, and it was automatic, so it sounded like
Yeah.
whoa, and
It's the worst.
they and like the guy was a dodgy dude, so he cut my springs and lowered the car, we just chopped them. And like in Hong Kong there was like department stores, and they had a little automotive section, and they had like hundreds of alloy tips, stainless steel tips you could put on your muffler. So I bought like a bunch of them, and none of them fit, and I sort of forced one to fit. Man, it was like, and I had a Tom's Racing sticker before I knew what Tom's Racing was. I just whacked it on the car, on the massive ones on the side of the door. And I was a ricer before I knew what ricer was.
That's classic.
The first time I met Z from JDM Yard. I had an A86, and I was at Z used to sell car parts out of his apartment in Kingsford, right? So he didn't even have a shop, and he was importing like a crate every time. So you'd get like a wooden pallet, and it'd be stacked up higher than us of glad wrapped like crazy with all these car parts that he bought people from Yahoo auctions. And this guy in an S2000, a red S2000, rocks up with huge white T37s on it, and I didn't even know really what I was talking about, but they just looked way too big for the car. Like, he was way ahead of his time, because now everyone's rocking big wheels. But these wheels were huge, and I didn't know who it was, and I just went, man, bit ricey there with the big wheels. And that was Charles Carr, the editor of Salon. That's how I met Charles.
Too funny, ragging on his car.
And his plates were 2K, and when I got my S2000, I ended up getting those same plates, 2K. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. And he's a mate of mine now. But man, what an idiot I was, like calling him a ricer. God damn.
So funny, like the other day, I was in Benzin getting a coffee up at Dural.
Yeah. Nice.
And they had all the old auto salon magazines sitting on the table there. I was like, oh man. And he's like, we could always tell what generation someone is if they point out the auto salon magazines.
Yeah. Dude, do you remember Speed magazine?
I do.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, I was at Antonio Alvadida. What's his name?
And so Antonio probably messaged you as well, asked you, do you have any copies of Speed with my work in it?
Yeah. So I've got heaps of old mags, but I didn't have any. I did have Speed magazine, but I don't know where they are. But anyway, I couldn't find them.
I'm the same, man. I said to him, I've got some, and then I couldn't find them. I'm like, fuck, I still need to. You just reminded me I do have to look for him. I really like that dude, man. I caught up with him at SEMA, and like, he's one of the founders of Speed Hunters, man. But he's such a humble dude, and he's just a really fun guy to hang out with. Like, we had so much fun. I met him first in Sweden for Need for Speed, and man, we laughed so hard on our table that we were crying. Like, we just got along like a house on fire, all of us. And Alexi was there as well. Larry Chen was there. Man, it was just a riot. Like, and Charles Carr made that happen because he was working at EA, and he was so busy that he couldn't even join us for dinner, like the fancy dinner that they treated us to. He came when dessert was served, and like that guy works hard, man.
Yeah.
I know Auto Salon was fun, but he held it all together. Like he held that entire team together, and yeah, much respect.
It was such an amazing mag at the time, though. Like there was nothing like it. It just had such polish, I think.
Yeah, good team. That's what it is.
Yeah.
They had Paps. They had Mark Pakula. Garth Ivers ended up working there too. Man, just good people.
Yeah.
You know, and good vibes, and they were all genuinely into JDM culture. So the whole concept of pushing JDM was really difficult because, like I said, the first few Auto Salon shows and oh man, it was just so shit. It was just so wasn't JDM culture. It was just, you know, that whole spray painting Lord of the Rings on your car or spray painting.
I was just gonna,
you know, like and putting that fake fairy floss underneath your wheels to make it look like it was doing a burnout and stuff, and like the whole sex spec thing as well. And we were always pushing, man. Like with JDM Yard, we entered Mark's Bad Habit DC2 with the JDM front end, and he put JDM wheels on it. Two different wheels on different sides. So you look at it from one side of the car, it was this.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And he had big power as well. And it's like that was the beginning of us taking over, you know?
I remember when it was shifting because you still sort of like had half the hall kind of dedicated to the sort of airbrush set.
Yeah.
And then the other half was starting to get it was like sort of more moody. It's like, you know, blacking stuff out and just sort of getting a more sort of race look to it. You know what I mean? And
totally, man. Like I remember one year that it really changed. There was a white S15 on the like a big stage, and it was like my GTR build, but done modern, fast, and just clean as fuck. It was just so hot. It was the hottest S15 of the time, and it was so JDM, every single bit of it. And I called up my mate Jing. I saw it. You need to get over here now. You need to see this. And it was just like finally, you know. Like even those wheels that were on it, I think they might have been Advan wheels and they were chrome, but the dishes had that sort of rainbow effect on the metal. And like, but to have that on a track spec car that had never been tracked, but it was in an Auto Salon show, it was just like, now we're getting to that Japanese Auto Salon vibe.
Yeah.
Now we're getting there because in Auto Salon you see some whack stuff that it's like track cars with beautifully stitched leather dash or something, and it's like that juxtaposition of having something luxurious on a race car is so whack, but it's so hot.
Yeah.
You know?
Man, I've got like is it like hard tube imports on VHS over there, like Tokyo Auto Salon coverage just sitting on my shelf. If only I had the VHS player still to go with it.
I know, right? And that memorabilia.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Well, I'll let you go, man. It's been a while, but it's been good to catch up, man. You know?
Likewise, man.
It sounds like everything's going good. I mean, obviously you're like just as car crazy as ever, which is fantastic. The Cappuccino is, it's such a unique project, man. Like it's just such a shame that you couldn't share that like sort of build when JMST was at its peak, you know, where you could inspire so many people from building a car like that, you know?
Yeah.
It's different times these days.
Still miss the forums, I tell you.
Yeah. I think they'd just been hacked a couple of weeks ago, and I think they're completely down. Yeah. But, you know, it's one of those things. It's still costing me like so much money to run, and I'm not making $1 out of it anymore. I need to let them go. Like, I don't think I'm going to feel so bad about it anymore. Like, I think I would have felt bad before, but let's be honest. Like, I think with Facebook and stuff now, people don't need forums anymore, and they definitely don't need JMST anymore. And, you know, so I think I need to, end of an era, need to let it go.
They tell me, you're choking me up here.
Dude, I still have a bunch of JDMSC stickers, so I'll have to send you one for the cappuccino.
Yeah, good man. Do it. Do it.
All right, Locky. Well, look, I don't know if you even have links to. Are you doing a build thread anywhere on it, or?
Nah, look, I haven't posted it up anywhere.
Yeah,
You
okay,
can
cool.
see bits and pieces on my Instagram. I'm just under Lachlan
Look, I'll do
Montus
that. Yeah, I'll
on
put links. I'll put
Instagram.
links below the video. If anyone's made it this far, oh my God, that's awesome. But yeah, thanks for your time, Locky, and all the best, mate, with the lockdown. And it sounds like you got it sorted, though, man. Like, for you to have the time to not only read Plato, but also to be modifying a cappuccino and doing a podcast and 3 kids and work as well, I assume. So
Yeah, your life's busy.
it's busy in lockdown, as you say.
For sure.
All right, bro. Well, hang on the line, guys. I'll leave links to Locky's stuff below. Thanks for listening. Catch you all next time.
See you later.